Good morning to you and you, Mikel. Hope you're doing well after the weekend's victory in the Cup. Listen, with your team in such good form at the moment, how much are you looking forward to getting back into Premier League action this week?
Yes, there's a lot of games coming up now, some important ones as well. We need to get our home form established. We have some issues there. And now we started to get some wins. We've got 2 at home right now that are going to be key for the future in the season in our Premier League. And the team is in good spirits. Obviously, after 4 wins, everything looks better. And looking forward to the games.
Emile Smith-Rowe played such a key part again in that game at the weekend. How much has he impressed you in that number 10 role? And do you think his performances are perhaps sending a message to some of the other more senior players about the levels that you are looking for?
Well, I've been impressed with his performance and the capacity that he's shown to do it in consecutive games, which normally with young players is not something very common. The other day he came in the game when we needed different energy and a threat in the box, and he exactly did what we expected, and he scored the goal, which is something that we've been talking to him. But there is no messages to any senior players. Here is a squad of players with different profiles, and everybody has to be pushing each other, trying to make each other better, and everybody contributes in different ways because every player's role is different in the squad.
Crystal Palace, they'll be coming to you with just the 1 win in their last 6 in the Premier League. So what are you expecting of them?
That they are a really dangerous side, and they show that against the big teams. They are really compact and an organized team. Under Rowe, you know what you're going to expect. They have players with a big individual talent that they just need moments to win games, to create actions that can unbalance the game. So we have to be very careful with that. And then we have to play to be dominant again in the game, to go from the first minute to try to win the game, to attack them, and be cautious as well as the strengths that they have to try to control them as much as possible.
Finally, from me, 11th in the table now, so looking much better than it was. But how important is it to beat Crystal Palace, just to further add some distance between Arsenal and those teams like Palace that are further below them in the table?
Yes, again, and to keep having that consistency and that belief that we can go into every game having the feeling that we're going to win it. And the more games we are able to win in a truck, the better that feeling is going to be. And obviously, to start thinking more about the table in a different direction, you are able to win those matches. Obviously, your mind starts to look in a much more positive way.
All right, good luck on Thursday. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. We'll move to Sky Sports and Gail Davis.
Morning. Can I just start by running through some injury news? Gabriel Martinelli is probably the most important, but also Gabriel and Thomas Partey. Can you start with Martinelli? How bad is that ankle?
Well, we don't know how bad it is. He's getting a scan this morning. He didn't look after the game because he was in a lot of pain, but yesterday he tested a little bit better. So let's hope that we have a scan today. It's not as serious, and we can have Gabi back ready soon. But we will know more tomorrow, certainly.
And Gabriel and Thomas Partey as well?
Well, Gabi had a training session the other day. He tested positive. He had very mild symptoms, so he's missed a few weeks of training because he had to be isolated. He's better now. We expect him to be training with us in the next couple of days and make an assessment whether we can have him or not on Thursday. And Thomas has been in full training for the last 4 or 5 days. He's completely asymptomatic. He was a little bit rushed to try to play him against Newcastle, but I think he will be ready for Thursday.
We saw on the weekend, didn't we, a lot of celebrations despite those kind of Premier League new protocols that have been in place. I mean, we were talking about how hard is it to change that as a player, first of all, in terms of, it's an instinct, isn't it? You want to go and hug your people. And second of all, how are you one of the managers that are very worried morally to carry on playing this game, given the high numbers we're seeing and the sort of things that we're experiencing and hearing from hospitals. I mean, London, for example, there's a major incident being called.
Well, with the first question, first of all, to control the emotions when you're going 200 miles an hour in a game full of things happening around you is very difficult to control. We're asking our players in corners, for example, to be man-marking people, to be pushing people around, and then we cannot fist bump anybody, you cannot say hello to anybody. It gets a little bit controversial and difficult to understand. Morally, with the situation that we have in the country, with the situation we have worldwide, to keep doing what we are doing, it's a little bit of a strange feeling. But we know as well what we can bring to the society if we are able to do it in a safe way. There are a lot of positives to take. It's just that balance that when this starts to get damaging and worrying and start to expose people, and when we can do it when we are still safe and we can, as I said, add something positive to this difficult context.
And it wouldn't be a press conference if we didn't ask you about Ozil. Fenerbahce suggesting that he could be joining imminently. Ozil himself has tweeted that we'll know more about his future on a Q&A this evening or at some point this afternoon. What's your understanding of the latest situation, Mikel?
My understanding is nothing has changed from the last press conference. That Edu and the club are having some conversations about the near future and the long-term future, and when we know something, we will announce it.
Will you be tuning in to his live Q&A then on Twitter to learn a bit more then this afternoon?
I'm sorry, but I don't have Twitter. I don't follow Twitter.
Have you any idea what might be said in that?
No. He's done it in the past. It's something that he tried to do to engage with his fans and keep everybody informed, so I'm not surprised.
And just finally for me, Eddie Nketiah is another name that's been linked with a move away. Do you expect him to move on in January?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gail. We'll now move to BBC and George Cummings.
Thanks, Dan. Mikel, I know you was talking about playing on. I think football's a big relief for people at the moment in lockdown, isn't it? That's why it sort of needs to carry on in a way. But as you say, it's safe because, there's not much else to do if everyone's stuck in their houses.
No, but that's why all the protocols and guidance and everything that we are told to try to keep the industry going is really helpful. I think so far, till the last week or so, we did brilliantly, and we were able to control that. If that's the case, and the government and the people are happy to do that again because they believe that is something positive and something to look at and keep people entertained, it's great if we can have in that sense, and if not, it will be them the ones making that decision that is no sense keeping this going.
Martinelli, I think he's had 3 injuries, a couple in recent weeks. Is he unfortunately going to be an injury-prone player, or is this just a bit of bad luck with what he's going through this 12 months?
Well, he had a really bad luck. The 3 injuries that you're talking, they are all really different. One, it was a contact. The other one, that is something that it can happen to anyone, but you have to be really unlucky. Hopefully, we're going to scan him today. Hopefully, it's not that bad, and we can have Gabi back. But, I was gutted for him because he was in pain and he was gutted.
Has Rob Holding signed a new contract at the club?
It's something that we will announce as quick as we can, but looks like it.
And I just wondered, it's a light-hearted one, really. Have you heard Emil Smith-Rowe's new nickname, what the Arsenal fans are calling him? They're calling him the Croydon De Bruyne. I just wondered, what was your thoughts on that?
Colin, Emil, let's keep it simple. It's just the start. There's a lot to do.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, George. Move to Talk Sport and Ian Abrahams.
Hi, Mikel. How are you?
Hello. I'm good, thanks.
I just want to ask you one thing about Mesut Ozil, because it does look like he's leaving. How well do you think, personally, he's handled the last 6 to 9 months? Because from afar, it doesn't look like he's necessarily handled it in the best way.
Well, it's always difficult to handle this situation when you are left out of the squad. It's been difficult for everybody to have players in that squad. It wasn't only him, because you need them motivated, you need them training well, you need them being part of what we are trying to do, and when they don't feel like they can contribute to that, it's always tricky. We have tried to manage that the best possible way.
You said earlier that Crystal Palace, they're only won 1 in 6, but still a hard team to beat. Yet there does seem to be mounting pressure on Roy Hodgson. They're not maybe the team they were that have come to the Emirates in the last 2 or 3 years and really caused Arsenal problems.
Yes, because they are a team that, as I said before, they don't need much. They have very specific plays in certain positions that reinforces that way of playing. Roy makes things always difficult. They lost some games, some that deserve it, some that they lost for big margin, like against Liverpool. But for me, it's not a real consequence of what they are as a team. Listen, every game in the Premier League is tough. It will be tough against them when a team is in the moment that they are in, because we weren't that far a few weeks ago. I know what the spirit in that dressing room and the willingness to put things right it is. So we have to be there really, really ready to go and win that match again.
As you rightly say, a month ago you were looking more towards the bottom 6 in the table. Now, top 6, I mean, is that back on in terms of a realistic aim for Arsenal?
I think the next 2 games are crucial to see the direction that we are taking, to reinforce all the things that we have improved on, the results that we are having recently, and we'll know much more, I think, in the next 2 games.
And just some transfer news to end with. Lucas Torreira, what's happening with him?
Well, I had some conversation with Lucas. He started the long period really well. Now he's lacking game time. It can happen. The team is doing exceptionally well. They are first in the Spanish La Liga. So when a team is winning, it's difficult to get in the lineup. It's a long season. I know Lucas' character. He's going to try to keep going and pushing, and let's see what happens with him.
And Emi Buendia, you've been linked with quite a bit with Norwich. I mean, he's a very skillful player. And Diego Costa, who's a free agent. You've also been linked with Diego Costa. Do you see him as being a traditional Arsenal number 9? I mean, I go back to the likes of Malcolm McDonald and Frank Stapleton, so it might be a little bit like them.
Yeah, and we get linked with players that we haven't even discussed. So as you can imagine, I cannot go name by name.
All right, good luck against Crystal Palace, Mikel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Now to the Press Association and Mark Manbrines.
Morning, Mikel.
Hello.
You said last week you'd hope to have news on Mesut Ozil's future in the coming days. Just for your own sanity now, you must be keen for the situation to come to an end.
No, it's that we can resolve the situation one way or the other. You know, it's always good to know what we're going to do, what is going to happen. I knew that when we made that decision, the consequences that we could have. We still have to try to find the right solution for the player and for the club, and we are trying to do that, and let's see where we get.
He obviously hasn't played much, but he is a World Cup winner. Has he had an impact on the likes of Smith Rowe, Saka, Willock, and will that experience and history of winning things be missed from the squad if he does move on?
Well, I think players' contribution comes in many different ways. When you look at people who has won everything and they are able to tell the stories about why those things happened, the experiences that they had, the status that brings into a football players, the confidence that it brings. It's great to have people around like this for young talent. After you have to experience it yourself, and you have to look at players that you can see that can give you something for your career. But certainly having that type of players is always helpful.
Wilfried Zaha spoke last week about how close he came to joining Arsenal a couple of years ago. Would you have enjoyed working with a player of his talent?
Sorry, I missed that, Mark.
Sorry, Wilfried Zaha spoke last week about how close he came to joining Arsenal before you were manager.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I can.
I just wondered, would you have enjoyed working with a player of his talent?
Well, undoubtedly is a player that is done exceptionally well in the Premier League, that has created a big name because what he's been able to do, sometimes just on his own, some individual actions, that is what the people highlight most of the time. But he's a player that is playing for Palace at the moment, and I have nothing to comment on that.
Just finally, Matt Macy has gone out on loan. Does that mean the club will look at bringing in another goalkeeper during January?
We are assessing the situation with the 3 positions on the goalkeeping area, and we will find a different solution probably in this winter break.
I read this morning that Alex Runarsson might move out on loan. Is there anything in there?
There's nothing there yet.
Thanks, Miguel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. We'll go to Nick Callow from Haters, please.
Morning, Mikel. Just when you said about Alex Runarsson, nothing there yet, is it something that's been discussed in the goalkeeping situation?
We are assessing what is going to happen with the 3 positions. The discussion we had in the summer with Edu and the club were a little bit different to what actually happened because of the transfer window, because of the situation that developed with Emi at the end of the day. And we didn't have much time to do what we really wanted to do. And we decided to assess the situation now in this window, which is what we are trying to do. And we will make a decision here how we want to move forward in those 3 positions.
Okay, just a little bit looking ahead to this match against Palace and going up against Roy Hodgson. You're one of the youngest managers. He's 73, I think. He started managing in 1976. You weren't even born. Can you imagine, or would you even like to be a manager for that many years?
Well, if I could do that, that would be exceptional, and I think is the word that I would use to describe what Roy has done in the game, and the way he's done it. I think his charisma, his personality, and the way he approaches people, how he is as a person, and then what he has achieved as a coach, I think it's just exceptional. And in these days, I've been doing that for a short period, but to do it, just to imagine to do it for that long, it's an incredible achievement. So my hat's off, because you should have something really special, and really special people around you as well, I believe.
Do you think it will be harder for modern managers like yourself to have such long careers because of the pressures, demands, and the regularity of games, press conferences?
Probably we will see what happens. I heard a lot of coaches when they started, I only going to do that for 5-6 years maximum. It's been 15-20 years and they are still there. So it's a difficult drug to take out of your system, I think, and once you are on it, you want to carry on doing it.
So you're finding already it's a very addictive job, are you?
It is, yes.